one. Top of the morning to you. Welcome to another edition of Idea Morning Digest right here on Idea TV. Exactly as we predicted, and often in ways that we never see coming, sometimes we just have to look at some headlines and just say, oh, what happened today? A lot of things has happened over the weekend. Like here, I think we're having a little secret Santa, and there's a lot of excitement in the air. And people are wondering, who picked me? Who did not pick me? So all of that is happening across many organizations and workspaces. So there's that build-up of excitement to know the big reveal. Well, my name is Chinatu Oja, and it's always a pleasure to sit here with the melanin popping Cynthia to discuss headlines and even things beyond the headlines.
Let's see if I cannot control my smile.
I know why. Yeah. We all know why. Because you're just saying to yourself, I hope nobody picks me for a 1-5 gift. But well, let's hope for the best.
I'm very speechless at this.
Let's quickly look at good morning from Cynthia. Let's quickly look at the headlines. It's a whole lot today, but let's quickly look at the headlines. FG to deploy 7,000 forest guards in 7 pilot states.
And the NCAA rejects tax claims as cause of high airfares.
Guinea holds post-coup presidential election outcome widely expected.
We'll be bringing to you lastly Zimbabwe to extend gold purchases to support ZiG currency in 2026.
All right, with all of that headlines, we're going to break. When we return, it'll be time for us to head into the story. Stay with us.
In medicine and electronics. When you shrink technology down to the nanoscale, you open up whole new possibilities. In medicine, researchers are exploring nanoparticles that deliver chemotherapy drugs directly to tumors, reducing side effects. MIT and Brigham and Women's Hospital have developed nanosensors that can detect cancer biomarkers in blood. In electronics, nanoscale transistors are already pushing Moore's Law further, with IBM unveiling a 2-nanometer chip in 2021 that promises major gains in performance and energy efficiency. The global nanotechnology market is projected to surpass $250 billion by 2030, showing just how central this field is becoming. Number 8.
Welcome back. Let's now head on to the stories. Starting out first, the federal government says it will deploy 7,000 newly trained forest guards across 7 pilot states to tackle insecurity linked to ungoverned forest areas. National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu said the personnel will be deployed immediately to support security operations, gather human intelligence, and restore government presence in vulnerable communities, especially around forest zones used by criminal groups. The guards were trained for 3 months in states including Adamawa, Borno, Niger, and Sokoto states under a program coordinated by multiple security agencies. The initiative, launched by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in May, is expected to expand nationwide as more recruits are trained. I love this story, especially in the rise of insecurity in our country. I think it's very pertinent that we have forest guards like this who are now trained. But I'm wondering, is 3 months enough to equip them with all the intelligence and technicalities and strengths that they need to, combat crimes around the forest? Because these forest guards are not just going to protect the wildlife. They're also going to be protecting the lives of citizens in terms of banditry, in terms of kidnap, because oftentimes you realize that when these things happen in the cities, they drive those people to the forest, they drive them to many secluded areas and carry out the mayhem that they need to carry out. So I'm hoping that this training is in-depth enough. If it's going to take us a year, let us go 3 if it's going to take us 6 months, because I don't think there should be any hurry. As much as this security issue is a matter of urgency, but I think it's better to cook properly than to just have people churned out then their numbers. And again, their welfare has to be taken into consideration. So we are not going to see another scheme where people are just have a reassurance that an assurance that they have jobs in the meantime, and after 3 months it's nothing like that. Because there was one that came out since there was this call that came out suddenly, and people went through training like this.
Yes.
I don't even remember
something
like that, and all of a sudden we are no longer seeing them. There's been like some of them, and then even in states they have some of those kind of call. So it's not about coming up with new calls, signing into policies that winning new calls. What are the plans in place to ensure that this is not another scheme that goes away with the win, but there is a sustainability plan, there is a welfare package for those people, so they are seen as actual staff or workers of the government. Okay.
I just feel like, let me just start with the positive angle of it. I think it's timely because we know what we are facing in the country already. So I feel like this program is very, very timing, and you know, it suggests that the president is following through with what he says he will do. And just like you've rightfully mentioned, the major thing here is just for these guards to be, you know, well paid, you know, protected. As I mean, they have already said they are well trained, and they are properly trained in states like Niger, Sokoto, and different areas. But then we know that when we look at forest security, it's very manpower intensive compared to how we are looking at it from the, you know, upper level, I mean the peripheral level. And when you talk about, I'm just looking at the numbers, 7,000 guards for a country that has, I think Nigeria has up to 1,100 or over 1,100 forests, if I'm not mistaken. And they are talking about ungoverned areas. When you talk about ungoverned forest areas, you are talking about, I mean, those overstretched areas, those lands where some people do not even know exist. These are where we understand that these are where these terrorists hide, where they have their layouts. So I'm just looking at, if we do the estimate on how they are going to share it, we are talking about maybe 1,000 for each state. And maybe even this 1,000 I'm even talking about is is me being very generous. But like, I go back again to say forest security is very, very manpower intensive, because forest is big. When you talk about forests, they are usually very big. So without proper logistics and welfare, it's not just about the training now, because we understand that they'll come back to tell us that people will say training and they have trained them, but then I just feel like logistics and welfare need to be catered for properly, and there needs to be that, you know, should I say, clear operational structure, clear command structure for them to, you know, follow. And I don't know, I'm just looking at everything. I'm trying to weigh I'm trying to weigh everything here and seeing how. But at the end of the day, I feel like this is a good initiative, but they should be taken care of so that we can ensure that there is sustainability and also accountability. Because if that fails, because this is not the first time, just like you mentioned, we have seen agro rangers, if I'm not mistaken, and also all these vigilantes we have in communities, stationed in communities, and also all this community policing that the youths are involved in. There are things like this. So I just feel what is usually the problem, the challenges with it, is because there is no proper accountability measures, no transparency, and, you know, we always talk about transparency, and that's lack of political will. So I think this is what is needed here, but this is what we are going to be talking about in the discussion segment, so I don't want to dwell much on it. Let's see the next story. The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority says rising domestic airfares are not caused by multiple government taxes, dismissing claims by airline operators that levies are responsible for high ticket prices. Speaking on Sunday, the agency's Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection, Mike Achimogu, said no domestic airline pays the widely quoted 18 taxes. He explained that the NCAA does not regulate ticket prices, and that airlines themselves admitted during a meeting with regulators that such tax claims are inaccurate. According to him, the recent spike in fares, especially in December, is driven mainly by demand and supply. noting that there were no increases in taxes or jet fuel to justify sharp prices jumps. The clarification follows comments by Air Peace Chairman Allen Onyema, who said airlines bear heavy costs and that many flights operate with low passenger numbers. However, the NCAA insists the seasonal fare surge reflects market pressure, stressing that similar price increases occur across transport, accommodation and food during peak periods, not government policy. Very, very interesting how they are trying to bring a justification to, why prices go up. And they're trying to justify why they do not need to pay the 18 different taxes the government has placed on the aviation sector. And first of all, we must understand the NCAA is just a regulator. They are not responsible for putting prices or changing prices of tickets or airfares. The airline operators are responsible for that. So the NCAA, I feel like what they are trying to do here is just to, what NCAA should be thinking of is how to regulate to ensure safety, to ensure customer protection, and all of those compliance. So when we see them coming out like this and they are telling us that all of these taxes is what affects pricing for airfares, I think there is a problem here, and especially when they are trying to compare it. First of all, they say it points to demand and supply. It points to demand and supply. Yes, we very well know that during these festive periods, people want to travel, for family reunions, 30 December, and whatnot. But we see many planes, there are many planes are full at this period. We see that a lot of people want to use this route to travel, but when we check 2025, it's not as we expected. There were so many limited seats. People have been complaining because prices went up, and this also happens to hotels, transport, and even food. A lot of people have been complaining, even if somehow Nigerians found a way to celebrate. But then them tagging it to demand and supply is where I have a problem somehow. Yes, I understand that demand plays a role, but it's not the only issue here, because airlines are also, they are dealing with, understand that they are dealing with high cost of aircraft maintenance, so many other forest pressures, and lease payment, so many things, even parking spaces, and proper, I think even how to operate their system efficiently. So they incur some of these challenges or problems. But then, while the NCAA, I think they are right, but we also have to stop and think against all those exaggerated tax figures. Passengers are also right to complain, because what they are trying to do now is to shift the blame and say this is not our fault. So if we look at it very well, is it now the consumer's fault? Is it now passengers' fault? So passengers are right to come out to say they are being squeezed by these prices. They cannot continue with it anymore. I guess that's why there were limited passengers this period. Now, we are seeing the Air Peace chairman too is also taking another dimension. Is also saying airlines often fly with low passenger loads, blah blah blah, and so many other things, and still incur huge costs. I think that's a reasonable talk, especially when we talk about all of those airlines that are flying through low profitable routes. But then the top question many people are asking, many customers are asking, is that if flights are now empty, or as they claim that sometimes flights are empty, why are fares still consistently going high? So these are the questions we are asking. Why do we have to? Why is it that customers bear the effect of these high prices at the end of the day? If we now say it is because of 18% this, blah blah blah, this one. So I feel NCA's argument that price hike happen across hotels, food, during festive period is fair, but I still stand with the board. The aviation sector is not carrying and right that we are trying to price. What the aviation sector needs is proper regulation. If the sector is properly regulated and is following strategic, plans, and it has a structure, we will not be talking about all of this today. Price is going high, price is not going up. I do not really think inflation can really affect the aviation sector as they are claiming. And then the tax they are talking about, the claim is that is likely overstated and whatnot. I just feel like every sector needs to pay tax. They just should know how to regulate it properly and structure the aviation system properly, and then I feel like everything is going to go well. But this conversation, I think it's one that is going to go on and on, because every festive period we keep experiencing this.
And
so
it's
this is
even
not an
very-
excuse with this
and
year's
it's-
tax.
I don't want to say if it's laughable, but what is the excuse? Because you're looking at things. The fuel for jets did not increase. There was no new tax. So you cannot look at any reason from the government end to say, oh, because the government did this.
18%, is the 18 different taxes that they laid on them, that's what they are claiming.
How is that now affecting the passengers?
Was it
Because
what
passengers
affected
already
them
last
yesterday?
year? Because passengers already pay these things. If not, that ECOWAS has stepped in now for Africa to say, okay, regional taxes for airfares will not be paid anymore. So you can imagine the level of expenditures that just because you want to travel. I think it's a problem of demand and supply.
Exactly.
There are more people who are willing to travel. So it will never make sense to me that because we have 1,000 people ready to travel, and so because of that, the prices must get high.
High.
So is it a case of maybe highest bidder win? That's what it's looking like. Why don't we just leave the prices like you've pointed out? I think we really have a problem with regulation, and every December we'll keep having people travel in and out of Nigeria. People would want to celebrate. So tell me, what is the excuse for the other time when we spoke about something similar? I was wondering, I said, what is the excuse for the ride hailers? What are they doing? How did fuel increase from the price from October to what we have now? There was no increment. Yet we're having people spend 50,000, 60,000 naira on trips. It doesn't even make sense. You want to do a dispatch and you're having to spend triple of what you usually spend. I don't know. All of these things just tells me more about the irregularities when it comes to the way we regulate things. And you'd wonder, we have Servicom, we have some of these customer care agencies that are supposed to look out for passengers, but then do we make use of them? Or are they even active enough? Do they even respond to messages? So there's a whole lot happening, but I'm hoping that I think the only thing we have is hope. The only thing we really have is hope, because nothing changes.
Again in 2026.
And they're making excuses. We understand that foods go up, but did food go up this time? It did not. It didn't go up. And the hotels are talking about
Some places,
where.
that's the irregularity you are talking about. Some places, some people will just feel
So
like,
you go to
okay,
the market, but because if foods were expensive this time around, would know it.
no,
When
people
you
are,
get into
people are
the
still
market,
complaining.
Huh.
People are still complaining.
The difference of 1,000 naira doesn't make things expensive. Because as at last year, since people could not buy rice, it was
Yes.
really pricey. Rice went up to 120. Now we are talking max you're getting rice for is 55,000, 40 to 55,000 for a bag, and that's a high, decrease compared to
It's
what
that
was
demand
last
and
year.
supply you were pointing at. If they see that, okay, a lot of people are going for tomato instead of carrots, they say tomato
So
is no
you got
longer
to-
1.5 or 1.2 again. It's 2,
So there's a
2.5.
whole problem of that irregularities, and it's like nobody's looking into this sector to say, no, it has to stand. It has to be like this. So that's a gap that we must fill. But let's head on to the next story now. And we see Guinea has had its first presidential election since the 2021 military coup, with vote taking place on Sunday under tight security. Interim leader General Mamadi Doumbouya, who seized power 4 years ago, is widely expected to win after dominating the campaign and enjoying a broad access to state media. The vote was organized under a new constitution that allows members of the transition government to run and extends the presidential term to 7 years. Several major opposition figures were absent, either barred or in exile. So how was that an election? Prompting some parties to boycott the poll and question its credibility. Despite authorities reporting high voter turnout, the election is being closely watched by economic partners as Guinea is the world's largest exporter of bauxite. The military government says the process marked a return to constitutional order, while investors are focused on stability and the rollout of major mining projects, including the long-delayed Simandu iron ore development.
It's a much needed side.
Guinea again. I don't know. Why is it that the countries I like stress me out the most? Most of the African countries that I realize that I like stress me out the most. Is this not another Tanzania playing out here? We saw what Salihu Hassan did in Tanzania. Some of the people are supposed to come and, contest or come and speak up. We didn't see them until after the election. And Mamaji Dambuya is doing the same thing here. We are saying that, yes, you can come and vote. Yes, you can come and compete. However, it's like saying you can speak, but you can't talk. I don't know how to place it. Sometimes I wonder how our African leaders we selected. Special breed. It's like very special breed. And you cannot expect to have democracy or say you want to have a peaceful and fair election when you are the sole proprietor of all that is happening. How then is the government transparent? How then is the government allowing an objective form of leadership? You want people to vote. Otherwise, you could have, what was the point of transitioning? You could have just remained as a military government. What was the point of transitioning to say, let's have election? When people are still held and people were not even allowed to still exercise franchise. We had a lot of people who could not vote. We had people who could not stand a chance to compete, to contest the election. So I don't know what this is going to be, but I think all eyes are on Sunday to see how the results will be. Sunday is not fight; it's just like 6 days away. So we would see how Mamadi Doumbouya would tell us. Of course, he would, but he's already been in the country, being in power for 4 years. So what's the difference now? If you're going to say, oh, the constitution has now changed, you want it to now be a democracy, then it should have been.
Changing it to a 7-year presidential term.
So so plus the 4 years now.
Something you fought for before you came into power.
Now you see why they say absolute
against rather.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. It is sometimes very easy to sit back and criticize people in authority until you get in there. I think there's something on that chair that just makes you start misbehaving. Because
power intoxicates.
It intoxicates. I kid you not. Because tell me why this person was saying that, oh, the former leaders were not doing right and he's coming with a change. He was doing everything he dared to do. Bought the minds of especially young people. There was a series of protests in Guinea, I remember. A lot of tussle. And then he comes in to bring sanctity to that country. And this is what we get. Is that not, how do they call that government now? They're now trying to be.
It's what political scientists, in political science, they call it, I think, electorized military rule.
I think that's a very good way to couch it. Electorized military, because you cannot be voting for the military. But now you see what the constitution is now saying. It said both military and both Democrats can stand election.
Very interesting.
Why?
So many interesting things have been happening in Africa.
Africa is such a great place to be. I don't want to say it stresses me out, but it's a good place to be because our leaders everywhere. It's like they belong to a secret WhatsApp group where they are told to behave in the same manner. Look at the woman in Tanzania now. What's the difference?
The same. It's a peculiar.
What's the difference? It's a very peculiar case. You came in, people are so excited. Oh, we now have a woman. It's going to be easy. Boom. People.
It's not even about the woman. It's how they came in. That matters here. They came in based on. They were trying to. People welcomed them, accepted them because they felt they were better evil than the other.
And she was the vice president to the former president of Tanzania.
Yes.
So people saw her, or maybe it's because she didn't have power to really exercise. They didn't know she was doing her understudy well. She was doing a real understudy and now she did so well. Now look. And not only has she gotten into power, she's ensured that her family members, a lot of people from her family are controlling positions of power.
Very sad. I mean,
Cynthia, take it from there, because
it's very. I'm laughing, but it's not a funny thing. It's a very sarcastic laugh. Like, what is going on in Africa? I'm going to use an analytic tone for this because this is like the first election since the coup in Guinea in I think 2021. That was when the coup happened, and then we saw General Doumbouya, if I'm getting the name correctly, come into power, and he led that coup. So it was more like, and the people they allowed him overthrow the then president. What's his name? Is it Alpha? They allowed him overthrow him because they cited all of those corruption with that government, you know, all of the constitutional manipulation, all of the ups and downs, all of the lapses with that, with the then government. And then, you know, people do not really welcome the idea of coup. But as at that time, Guineans actually welcomed that coup. They were very happy not because they love military rule. I don't think there's so many people that do like military rule, aside myself somehow, but because, I mean, as at that time, civilian government was not, or civilian governance was not giving what it should be giving. It had lost its credibility. It was not doing what it's supposed to be doing. The people completely lost trust as at then. So now, we are now seeing now, this is 4 years later from then, a new constitution is coming. They are seeing a 7-year presidential term and, you know, rules that will allow the transitional military government to contest elections. I've never seen that. It's only right for people to begin to wonder what is going on here. I mean, and that's why I said the political scientists will say this is electoral, is it military transition? How do they even put it? It's electoralized military transition. That's how they call it in political science. And, you know, I've never seen where, you know, juntas will organize election and then they will, because when you have cases like this, when it is mostly like an electoralized military transition, it's more like they organize elections because they know they will win and they can win and they must win. Like there is no contest, nobody is going to contest, you know, their them winning. So I just feel like what is happening in Africa is very, very uncomfortable. I don't know if we are trying to return to a genuine democracy. If in Africa, do we really understand democracy? If we are practicing democracy, I'm just asking questions. Do we really understand democracy, or we are kind of, you know, is it civilians are now dressing like militaries? I don't know, just to more like military are now trying to disguise like civilians so that there will be that continuity of power and all of those things. But then this is not good for Africa. This is what I'm trying to say. It's not good for Africa. But I mean, we are seeing there that what I think the whole world relies on Guinea for the oil production and you know and bauxite and what do they call it, some other raw materials. And it is not good when something happens in a country and then you feel like it is just that country's issue. It is not just that country's issue, rather it is going to affect all other, you know, issues. So I feel at this point in time they should be very strategic. I don't know if they are trying to do like what's Traore's country. It's going to be like that at the end of the day, because Traore is reforming a whole lot of things.
In Burkina.
Yes, I don't know if it's good or bad, but somehow on some stance it is good. So if it is what we are going to be seeing in Guinea, then I think it's good for Guinea.
We really need to also hear more from the citizens. We need to, and let's hope that there's freedom after speech. They enjoy the government. Like we saw in Cameroon, you could clearly see that many people are not excited about the government. You could see in Tanzania people came out to speak. So I'm sure that people from Guinea are not new to social media. They could speak, except of course they are bad from speaking. And then I'd like to see how he is able to do a lot of exports of the bauxite that they have as a mineral in that country. Again, Africa is so blessed and we have all it takes to prosper. But Cynthia, let's take the last story.
Okay. Okay. Zimbabwe will continue buying gold and other precious metals in 2026 as part of efforts to strengthen foreign exchange reserves and support the stability of its national currency, the ZiG. The country's central bank governor, John Mushayavanhu, said on Sunday that the policy aims to build reserves equivalent to 3 to 6 months of import cover. He said the ZiG, introduced in April 2024, now accounts for about 40% of daily transaction and is backed mainly by gold reserves. The country bank accumulates these reserves through direct gold purchases and mandatory royalty payments in gold from mining companies. Foreign reserves have risen to $1.1 billion as of mid-December 2025, up from $276 million in April 2024. The strategy, authorities say, supports currency stability and aligns with International Monetary Fund advice, which warns that confidence remains fragile. The IMF projects Zimbabwe's economy to grow by 6% in 2025 before slowing in 2026, driven by agriculture, high gold prices and diaspora remittances, while urging continued monetary and exchange rate reforms. Whoa, okay. I think Zimbabwe introduced this currency, the new currency, in April 2024, and since then Zimbabwe has continued to buy gold and other precious metal, and they say they will continue to do it in 2026 to support this new currency, the ZiG. And then checking from what the central bank governor of Zimbabwe is saying is that the reserves are now up to are now at $1.1 billion. Let me look at the story where from just $276 million a year earlier. And I think that's a massive jump, very beautiful here. And the ZiG now is reportedly used by about 40% of daily transactions in Zimbabwe, and which is largely backed by gold. And to put everything in context here, Zimbabwe has seen hyperinflation. It's like almost every African country has seen hyperinflation, but Zimbabwe have seen hyperinflation. They have seen a lot of struggles with their currency, and that was why this ZiG currency was introduced, and then gold was supposed to back it up. And they have seen many monetary failures. Even people have lost that trust in money itself. So when a country comes out to say the currency is going to be backed by gold, it's just them saying they just want trust this time. They want people to trust in the currency. They want to combat inflation, and it is clearly stated here that they have different models that they want to use to tackle it, which includes direct gold purchases by the central bank, and then there will be mandatory royalty payment in gold from mining companies as well, and then there will be building reserve to cover 3 to 6 months of imports. And I think that's the key point, that reserve, because import cover is like a basic measure for economic safety, and many African countries have struggled to meet up to 3 months whenever they bring such new currencies like this, or new value reserves. So I feel like it's interesting that the IMF is also backing and supporting them. It shows that they're taking a step in the right direction, but then they still want to be cautious about it only if they can increase most of their remittances, especially in agriculture, and how they especially diaspora remittances, and also how they at the price at which they sell gold, if they are going to sell it at high prices. But it also warns of a whole lot of things, because according to IMF, this plan still remains very fragile. And of a truth, you cannot stabilize a currency, Chinatu, by policy alone. You must be able to stabilize it by trust. People must believe that, okay, this has come to stay. People must believe that it is not a rule that have just come overnight, and then the next day policy will change. They must believe that inflation would be another, or won't be weaponized at this point in time. They must also believe that their savings is secure. They will not be removing 1 or 2 to 2 naira each and every day from their accounts. People must build that trust first. It's not just about bringing out policies saying this is going to work, this is going to work. But I feel like this is a very good strategy. But Zimbabwe needs to, I think, add more strategy, back their strategy up, especially technically. They need to back their strategy up at this point in time, because the gold system works, but not in a country where that they are not that very, very rich.
Cynthia could go on and on. The moment Cynthia hears money, is like boom. I need to talk about it. One country that I don't want to say amused, but it's how they have the Zimbabwean dollar, and I remember my friend who had 200k in naira. went to Zimbabwe and he was telling me, I'm balling big time. He couldn't finish spending that money. This was like in 2022, thereabout. And he said when he went to the market to do the exchange, he had so much of the Zimbabwean naira dollar in his hand. So it was like a pile of money. But it was just 200K here in Nigeria. And so it just tells you the disparity between Zimbabwe and the other parts of Africa. So I'm glad that they're introducing ZIG because it was so interesting. If you go on the internet today and you search for the Zimbabwean dollar, you see that there are pictures and videos of people rolling their monies in Zimbabwe to the market to buy stuff. And you check all of that money, even in the naira where we are complaining that the naira doesn't really have value, you'd see that it's performing way better. But I'm excited about the improvement with the ZIG, the introduction of ZIG in 2004, and between then and now we can already see the progress. So it hopes for good things, and let us see how that pans out, and let's see if there's going to be a match between the ZIG versus the Zimbabwean dollar, or how is it going to be. Because if there's going to be that match, like Cynthia's pointed out about confidence, then people can further trust. Otherwise, people like us will just carry our 100K in Nigeria.
Soon. Because 40% of daily transactions every day, that's huge already. So maybe completely.
I'm saying that there's still a lot of complexities around it, and they've not wiped it away. So I'm wondering, so I think they might still need to test the waters for a period of time. But before they do, let's go spend 100K in Zimbabwe, please.
Now that gold is going to be national reserve in Zimbabwe.
Let us go there. All right, let's look at the headlines we brought away this morning before we go on a break. We told you that FG is set to deploy 7,000 forest guards in 7 pilot states.
And the NCAA reject tax claims as cause of high airfares.
You also heard that Guinea holds post-coup presidential election. Outcome is widely expected.
And lastly, Zimbabwe to extend gold purchases to support ZIG currency in 2026.
All right, we're going to break now. We'll be back with the discussion segment.
Number 10, advanced cybersecurity with AI and quantum resistance. Cyber threats are growing as fast as the technology protecting against them. In 2023, the U.S. saw over 3,200 reported ransomware incidents, according to the FBI's IC3 report, a 74% increase from the year before. AI-driven cybersecurity tools are now being trained to spot anomalies in real time, identifying breaches before they spread. At the same time, researchers are developing quantum-resistant encryption. The U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, has already selected new post-quantum cryptographic algorithms, preparing for a world where quantum computers could break today's encryption in seconds. Number 11, blockchain beyond finance. Blockchain.
Okay, welcome back from that break, and this is still the Idea Morning Digest. Welcome to the discussion segment. So Nigeria continues to battle insecurity. We are all very aware of that, and it is linked to ungoverned forest spaces, and the federal government has announced the deployment of 7,000 newly trained forest guards across 7 pilot states. The initiative unveiled in Yola, Adamawa State, is designed to restore government presence in forest corridors increasingly used by criminal groups while strengthening intelligence gathering and security coordination. And with the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, confirming the deployment will begin immediately, the move raises important questions about strategy, effectiveness, coordination, and what this means for communities living around these forests. So let's unpack what this development really means for national security. The federal government says the forest guards were trained for 3 months under a multi-agency security program and will be deployed first in states such as Adamawa, Borno, Niger, and Sokoto. And the goal here is very, very clear. It's to tackle insecurity linked to ungoverned forest areas and deny criminal elements safe havens. And this initiative was launched in May by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and is also expected to expand nationwide, as more recruits complete training. Beyond boots on the ground, officials say the guards will support intelligence gathering, community engagement, and coordinated security operations. But how effective can this strategy be, and, what should Nigerians be expecting going forward, Chinatu?
What kind of a hot seat is that?
What do you think? We've been seeing insecurity in Nigeria. It's no longer about, checkpoints. It's no longer about highways. It's no longer about city. The real battleground has shifted to our terrains, has shifted to our communities, it has shifted to our forests. And that so many people still live in places that are not very, very, developed. And these forests are close to, we're talking about forests. These forests are in people's backyards.
When you spoke, I just told myself that some of the forest guards that we see, the only things they have as weapons are very shiny torchlights and sticks. And you wonder, can that combat things? So when we talk about this training, I'm also thinking, how are these people trained? So let's peradventure, there are bandits in the forest who just come. Are these people trained to combat that situation? So it's a thing of concern for me. Also a good start, because to even conceive the training is another thing. But because I have seen how things have happened in this country over time, how they're so excited and moved by the situation on ground, so much so that we are forming things, we are setting up committees, we are setting up groups and saying, oh, you fight this, you fight this. We already have vigilantes in many communities. Why were they not absorbed or expanded to also include, forest guards? Now, let's say, okay, that did not happen. Are these forest guards, do they have the capacity to not just look at people who are coming to destroy the wildlife, but face people who are ready to destroy our livelihoods, destroy our farms? People who are just, what bandits do? They do not come to laugh with you. They come to destroy lives, destroy properties, destroy our farmlands. So are these people ready to, combat? First of all, look at how it's happening with the Nigerian military. It's not even easy. I know that they are not the frontline fighters, but things have gotten so bad, so much so that they have now shifted to the forest. If you listen to lots of the testimonies that we see about the kind of intelligence that are being gathered, you'd realize that it's happening in the forest. You'd realize it's happening in the forest. In fact, even up till now, we've not been able to ascertain what exactly happened to General Uba. But we knew that he was killed in the forest from the stories we've seen. Even though there are reports that are saying that, oh, that was doctored, that was not doctored. Well, there was a statement by the so-called bandits that they eliminated him. And they showed us the doctored video. And we've been waiting to see that there is a video that shows that it wasn't the case. Now, I've also seen, imagine that there were forest guards in those forests as well. The fight will not just be for the military. It will be for everybody to come together, collaborate, and combat the issue. So there has to be, right now, I think with the forest guards, a lot of things are going to take shape in terms of monitoring, in terms of being the eyes of the military, in terms of being able to give information as well, because you're not just going to monitor. But while they monitor, do they have the necessary tools? What kind of gadgets do they have? What kind of things do they have? Even though they don't use guns, are they able to at least pin the person down before the military comes? Because if I can't use a gun, I should be able to use something that works like a gun. Are they going to be allowed to use the hunter's gun? There are too many questions in my head, but on the whole, I know that this is for the good. This is supposed to enhance our security. This is supposed to ensure that the government is present in every community. We cannot exhaust the military. I don't feel like we do not have enough military for the population. We're over 200 million people. And we've been over 200 million people for how many years now? So what if we've gotten to 400 million? And we're still working with the same military power. They keep dying every day. How many people are even interested in going into the military to die anymore? Everybody wants to go in, doesn't want to go in as a recruit, so they don't have to fight. So the ones who we have that are willing to, we must ensure that they're empowered and trained with not just physical strength is not enough. Can they face these people? And when I say physical strength, I mean that if they were having to have a physical fight. But they have to have the tools in place. I don't want a situation where we have a walking turkey that's making noise all over the bush and then the bandits can hear, can track. So we must make the technologies that we will use top notch. And we must also, I understand that there was a testimony of a young man that was kidnapped somewhere, and he spoke about how the people who tried to apprehend him again were members of that community. Now imagine having forest guards in communities that are indigenous of those places. You cannot, I'm just saying this because I know we would want to say, oh, let's have people. I don't know what the plan is anyway, but we must ensure that whatever the plan is, it must include indigenous of that community, safeguarding the communities. They understand the terrain better, they understand the neighborhood better, they understand the language. So it would be easy to disseminate information. So however we want to go about it, we must ensure that these people are armed with the right tools, are armed with the right knowledge, are armed with the right intelligence gathering. We cannot just say, and that's what I'm wondering, is 3 months okay? This is not how to use Excel. This is life we're talking about. So I'm worried. Is 3 months okay? Is there going to be a refresher course? Is there going to be retraining? What are they going to do in between those times where, I don't know. It's just confusing me now because I'm worried about the time frame. I know that it's working, it's so because of the urgency. It may not even be, but yes, there's a case at hand and we have many cases around insecurity in our different forests and communities. Then again, is that time frame enough? So let's say, can we launch out with the knowledge we have? While they're at it, we have more, trainings and all of that.
Since you have been asking pertinent questions, I must say, because I've asked myself, first of all, the 7,000, I started talking about it in the news review segment, that the 7,000 per state, according to them, more are still in training and they are coming to join and going to be deployed to different states, but for now it's just Niger, Sokoto, and I think Adamawa and Bruno. But then 7,000, I was trying to do the estimate the other time. I was saying, okay, let's just say like 1,000 is stationed per state. Is 1,000 enough for, just like you stated, a country that has over 200 million people and a country that has over 1,100 forests or over 1,100 forests or over 1,000 forests? So I'm just thinking, and as they call it, all of this ungoverned, you know how it can be. For them not to be able to identify where Sambisa forest is, or they know Sambisa forest, but where this terrorist resides, where these other ones, camp, where this other one does their work or operate, then I think I'm commending this effort to. This is not me disbanding the effort and saying it's not a good one, but I'm just thinking so many strategy needs to be put in place, so many strategies, and just like you pointed, that timing, 3 months. I'm just saying 3 months of training is not magic for them to do everything. 3 months of training, 3 months. That training duration have not been exercising all their lives. All their lives. And I don't know the people that they recruited for this. That's another thing. Who are the people? Are they from the local communities? Are there already existing security personnel you get from whether vigilantes or different security agencies? I want to understand where they are gotten from, so we can understand that, okay, under 3 months, if this person is already a security personnel, then we can say 3 months can make up for it somehow. But then we're just thinking of different things. That training duration rather is automatically, it doesn't automatically translate into effectiveness, because a lot of things needs to come in place. We need to think of how we are going to, supervise them, the quality of their work, of their operations, how intelligent they are, because they say they are going to call it human int or something like that. That is human intelligence. That's because they are for intelligence sharing, they are local. So I'm supposing that they are locals, because according to them, these are people that know the corridors, these are people that know the areas very well, or are familiar with these places. But then we have to understand there needs to be clarity of command structure here. How is it going to be carried out? The rules of engagement. Me, I'm still going back to welfare, because police are complaining of not being paid 3 months salary, 4 months salary, this month's salary. So come to talk of people we just call forest guards. In Nigeria, framing matters a lot. The name we give to people matters. That's how we respect or give reverence to them. So when you hear forest guard, let it not be that their welfare will not be taken care of, and then these people at the end of the day will be demotivated and will not want to even work again, or will start integrating forces or aligning forces with these people they are trying to fight. So a lot of things comes to play here, but then I still go back to say this is a very, very good measure. I think it's way to go, but we just need to put these little things. They may seem little, I don't know, but we just need to put these things in play. But I think this attempt to even synchronize security efforts rather than just allow agencies operate in silos is very, very important, because for a very long time now we've been talking about community, engagement, how community will come together, how community involvement, and this is one we are seeing for that. Yes.
Okay, I think we can wrap up. So should we take that as your final word?
Yes,
you want to add any other thing?
No, I think it's okay.
Okay. So let's just say this, that as the first batch of forest guards begins deployment, Nigerians are now watching closely to see whether the strategy delivers lasting security where it matters most. So what do you think of this approach? Do you approve of it? Do you think that can force-focused security help reduce insecurity nationwide? We want you to join the conversation across our different social media platforms by following, by commenting and sharing your thoughts using our official handles at Idea TV. But for today, that's where we draw the curtains on today's discussion. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing, and happy holidays, compliment of the season. We're also expecting a lot of you to say, oh, Idea TV, come, we have this party, come, we have this event, come cover. You know that you can always work with us. You can advertise with us. You can ask us to come cover your event. And if you have a breaking news, within our core, entrepreneurship, science, technology, education, entertainment, let us know. We would report it, okay? My name is Chinati Oji, and I've been with the Melanin Popping, Cynthia Bassi. Bye for now.